Hello, I'm here with Keith Farmer after Keith's message today. So, Keith, thanks for staying around, for going deeper. It's always good to have a conversation with the person that's just preached a message, because there's so much in pulling that together. And our hope is that in this, that there's something that we can explore together that takes us deeper in this concept of what it means to enlarge our own capacity. And today we were looking at our emotional health. So if for some reason you're watching this and you haven't heard the message, jump on our YouTube channel, check it out. It is absolutely worth checking out that message. So thanks, Keith. I liked speaking about even this series actually, because I think there is something about us as a community of people understanding that we are partnering with Jesus in building his church. Now, he's the powerful one. He can do whatever he wants. But for some reason, he chooses us, people, to partner with him. Yes. And I've found it anyway, much harder to partner with him in mission if I haven't got capacity in me. Yes. And so looking at these different areas, but today emotional health, it'd be good to explore that with you. Now, one thing I want to ask you, I sense that even this series, some of it can be a bit sensitive, talking about things like our emotional health or our physical health or our mental health. But you actually took it to a place where you mentioned that you even sense that our emotional health, that our heart is the centre of who we are. Do you want to tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, and I was a little apologetic in the sense that I don't want to be prescriptive here about how we understand each part of us. We are an integrated whole, and
that's
actually
right.
The sum of the parts, the whole is the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So there's a unity in the way God made us, but it does help us to be able to recognise what part in a major kind of way, physical, as Gary unpacked for us last week. Today it's emotional. I think next week it's
it's our mental health,
and then relational health. I think it's great just to hone in on each of those to find what are the pivotal areas both for us opening up to God and being good stewards of those areas.
It is a stewardship, isn't it? Like I've noticed in my life and working with people as well, like each one of these areas has the potential to really motivate you, or it can actually bring almost a destruction to your life, every one of these areas. So so it is. So at the heart of who we are, and a lot of that is that emotional part of that. I love it when you said out of our heart, out of the overflow of our heart, our mouth speaks.
Yes. So the heart is the essence. Feelings are the expression of what's in there, so that I can know how I'm doing. I can know what is the state of my heart many times a day, actually, by recognising my reaction to people, to circumstances, and that what comes out immediately reflects what's actually in there at the moment. And that I find to be a very good barometer of how I need to maybe revamp or even go to bed earlier and get a better sleep because my emotions are strongly impacted by whether I've slept well or whether I'm rested or whether I'm generally tired. They're all interrelated, but today we had the opportunity to look at what I call the colour of our lives.
That's interesting.
Yes, that feelings give colour. Imagine life without feelings.
Yeah, that'd be black and white.
Well, we'd be black and white. We'd be robots.
Yeah.
So maybe one of the reasons for God giving us free will is so we can experience the beauty of love, joy, peace, patience, gentleness that have a feeling compartment to them.
Yeah, that's right. Gee, there's so much in that. I love that concept of a colourful life because of our emotions. Yeah. You talked about you've learned to see in yourself some indicators that may point to the condition of your heart and what's happening there. You mentor a lot of Christian leaders and have done for a long time and been really active in that space. Do you think we pay attention to that area of our life enough or not? I sense that we don't, but I'd be keen to hear from you who's worked with people. Do we pay enough attention to our emotional health?
No. Both in the sense that our tank, we seem to think that we're inexhaustible, whereas we're not. And even people, leaders who have very large tanks and very gifted, very committed people, and sometimes the commitment actually in one part of it doesn't help because you keep going when you need to actually replenish. But if we can just be aware of early signs that the tank's a bit low, that our motivation is like one person who asked me whether I would mentor him and his wife. He was in a ministry that I couldn't do myself, so I said no, I couldn't mentor you. He said, can I ask why? I said, because I couldn't do what you do. He said, no, I'm not looking for a coach. I've got a coach. I'm looking for somebody about who I am rather than what I do.
Yeah, it's good.
And because what I do comes out of who I am. So I said to him, help me understand that. What are you struggling in some area? And he said to me, Keith, recently I've been in meetings that normally I would enjoy. I often chair those meetings. I hope to bring them to an exciting decision. And I'm surreptitiously looking at my watch and thinking, I don't want to be here. How long is this going to keep? And what I thought was, that sounds like the early stages of burnout. I think maybe I do need to get alongside these people because I've experienced burnout and help them see the early signs and not actually keep going in that depleting. Because if our emotions are depleted, every other part of our lives will be adversely affected. Relationships will be significant. In fact, our closest people will be the first to know that we're depleted and we'll possibly even take it out on them because they may appear to be the safest people.
We do that, don't we? Unfortunately,
Yes. So it's in terms of our emotional tank, but it's also areas of the healthy side of emotions, the way God created us to live, so that even what doesn't feel good actually is very constructive. So we recognise. I think that those feelings have the same role in our overall health and emotional motivation as physical pain has in our body. So that if I've got something that's hurting, I need to attend to it. If I just keep on trying to run on it or walk on it or do exercise on it, I'll probably make it worse. So the sign of the feeling is a sign that something needs to be attended to and therefore address the issue in order to get it healthy rather than unhealthy.
Yeah. That's a great way to look at that. I mean, we downplay our emotions a lot in our nation, don't we? For some reason, like we try not to cry. We think if we get angry that that's not a good thing. We even sort of downplay joy sometimes. It's quite bizarre.
And maybe even on this Father's Day, just a gentle word to some of us males.
What would you say?
Embrace your emotions. I would say go deeper into God and therefore help those emotions to be redeemed, to be positive, not necessarily feeling positive. But I would say don't either explode or bottle it all up. Be in touch with your emotions so that you know what you're feeling. Be open to accepting I'm feeling frustrated. I actually think there's a lot of sign even in the New Testament of Jesus getting frustrated.
Yeah.
Like Peterson on one occasion has Jesus saying to his disciples, "Are you being willfully stupid?" In other words, I think he was despairing
Yeah.
of how slow they were.
Yeah.
But he was able to express that and then teach and model in a way that people like Peter came from way back there or way ahead in terms of being a leader, but not necessarily an effective or constructive leader, to being a leader for the kingdom of God.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why we want to have a capacity to do that. I love it when you said our emotions are our motivators.
Yeah.
And so I'd echo those words, absolutely. Let's be really aware of what's going on within us emotionally. And I know you talk about that lots in mentoring, and you like to put a number on it, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 you're absolutely motivated and 1 you can't get out of bed. Maybe for someone who's listening who maybe goes, okay, I'm going to pay attention more to my emotional well-being and what's actually going on in me, and I want that to be really authentic with a few key people and with God. And if there's a sense that there's a low emotional tank, like a 2, 3 or a 4, somewhere under the halfway mark, what would be some practical things you feel people could engage with that would help just move that forward on that scale?
There'd be lots of them, but the major principle in one way is that we need, whatever has been given out or lost or is low, we need to take in or to embrace or receive. There's a very strong principle from many parts of our lives, and that is that you can't give out what you haven't received.
Yeah.
That's true. That's why God's unconditional love is so crucial to the whole world.
Yes.
Because he just keeps on giving if we will open up and receive it, and he keeps on giving anyway.
Yeah.
So if we open ourselves to that love, we get a tank filled up within us that allows us then to give out. So wherever it is that the resources for whatever we need are available, that we open ourselves to those. But the most important and the most practical, although it seems as if it's not very practical, is rest.
Yeah.
Not to keep going, to actually get a quiet centre, to be able to rejuvenate with a sense of peace, not guilty about not being active at this moment or producing.
Yeah.
You know, I've got to be producing to feel okay about myself.
Yeah.
Just get a quiet centre that allows us to be secure in who we are because we are made and loved by God.
Yeah.
And he's on our side. And once we can be quiet, there's a natural rejuvenation process.
Yeah.
The sabbatical, the Sabbath rest is a part of the created order of God in this world.
Yeah. And we've just run all over that, haven't we, in our busy culture? So I really appreciate you sharing that. It'd be interesting if we saw rest as something that was probably one of the most productive things we could do.
Yes.
To actually rest.
And even if that productivity is something that you need in order to be motivated, and in one sense there's nothing wrong with that, think about the productivity of sleep. Where would you be without having had a reasonable sleep?
Yeah.
Most nights, not every night, but we need otherwise we're goners.
Yeah.
We're angry, we're frustrated, our relationship suffer. The whole of life is shaded by whether we are rejuvenated appropriately through rest. So rest is the most productive activity that any of us could ever engage in.
See, it's almost like we need to give ourselves permission to rest, and would encourage you in that.
And even this is a bit of a side issue, but to rest as much as we need. I think I spent the first 40 to 50 years of my life under the mantra that sleep was a waste of time. So train yourself not to need very much of her.
Yeah.
And I think that was very counterproductive. It meant that because basically I don't know about physiology very much, but I understand there's a internal metabolism. Some people need 5 hours, some people need 10 hours. If you need 5 or if you need 10, do as much as you can most times
Whatever
to get
you
that,
need.
because that will set us up for productivity and for peace and joy in the next day.
Some real practical things there that we can implement immediately, really, today, the day you're watching this. Just to finish up, you did speak in your message about God being an emotional God, an emotional person in Jesus, and you mentioned some of those emotions. How can we, because I don't think we see God like that enough, how do we really lean into that God is jealous for us, that His love, He is passionate for us? Like, how do we move into that space and really go deeper in that?
How long have we got? Just a picture from, for me, the most powerful expression of God as a compassionate God is the lost son, or it's really the loving Father. And of the Father running to meet the Son who's wasted a third of the value of the whole property in a foreign land. And the Father is running with his arms outstretched and an incredible smile on his face. And the Message translation says that basically the Son had a speech made up, I've sinned and whatever. The Message says, but the Father wasn't listening. Now, I think he was listening. He's always listening, and he's listening to our repentance, because that's very constructive. But just have the picture of a loving father, mother, running towards you with a broad smile on his face, with his, even in COVID, with his arms outstretched to give you the best non-sexual hug you've ever had in your life.
Yeah. That is a very good picture. We'll leave you with that picture. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.